Here's the promised video with sound on setting up Prusa Slicer with P2pp for our palette. We'll start by downloading Prusa Slicer. This is the 2.5.0. I believe the 2.6 just came out. And you can just go through the screens. Set this up for Ender 3, which seems to be what most people have. You want to make sure that you're in expert mode. That way you'll be able to add all the settings that are needed. Okay, and here we go. This is your generic profile. From there, we'll head over to Google and type in P2pp, and it'll come up with all the information that's needed. Okay, once you've typed it in, it would be the first link, the Grid Hub. And it says right here, this will be the latest version. Tells you what was changed. You want to scroll down. There's a nice big donation button. Go ahead and donate something to Tom. But what we're looking for is the wiki at the top. This all here explains what the process does, explains how it's working, upgrading it, new install, downloading is what we're looking for. You have the current release, older release. We'll go with the current one. It's a Dropbox. As you can see here, these are the last two current ones. We'll just go ahead and download we'll download the 4.9. And I just want to click the button right here for download. Okay, it's finished downloading and it's opened up. And you see this folder right here. This is the folder that you want to copy. We're going to go ahead and copy that to the C drive. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to extract it to a new folder on the desktop. And then we're going to copy it to the C drive. I found that sometimes if you copy it directly to the C drive from the zip file, it'll say it's copied, but it's not actually copied. Okay, we'll just drag and drop it to the C drive. It'll take a few just to copy over. Okay, once it's finished copying, your folder should pretty much look like this. This folder here I created, it just has the older versions copied into it. You see the location is the C drive, P2pp. What you can do is double click on the P2pp file. It'll open. Once it opens, it tells you right here the location of it. You can go ahead and copy this or write this down for later. We'll head back over to the website with the configuration files. Okay, once you're back to where you click the download button, the reference configuration is right here. And it's going to give you all the information that you need, setting up the bed size, calibrating extruder, bed leveling, printing the assigned colors for the extruders, setting the purge length. And it starts right here. Going to load the default profile in Prusa Slicer. Go to the configure it menu, mode, expert. That's what we did when we set it up. Configure it, mode, expert. And then we're going to go onto the printer settings tab, general, the extruders, and change it to the multi extruders. So printer settings, general, the extruders, you set it to 4 for a palette 2 or a palette 3 non-pro, and for a palette pro you set it to 8. Then you want to click the box for single extruder multi-material. Then we can head back to the site, and then this is going to go into the printer settings tab, which is the far right tab, same tab we're in now. Custom G code, start G code, and this is for your palette Pacific mode. So it's right here, custom G code. Now, depending on the printer you have, you could have different start G code, different end G code. Doesn't really matter. That's all based on your printer. You just want to go to the very top line, enter a few times to get a few blank spaces, and then you can start with the P2P codes right there. And if you have a palette 2, you don't have to put any code there to start at the top. If you have a palette Pro or a palette 3 normal, you'd use these. I have a Pro, so it'll be this code here. And you can just paste it right there. Enter to go down the next line. And if you have a palette 3 and you want the extruder to start the preheating as the pallet's making the filament, copy this code. Enter to go down the next line. Then this is for the uploading. You can upload directly to the palette 3's internal memory. It must be on this version or higher, which of course we are. So you'd copy this code. Right here is where you put the host name or the IP address. IP address is generally something like this. Sometimes it can be a 196 something, or the palette host name. You just need one or the other. I'm not going to add that today, but that's how you do it. This right here is to rotate the screen and to show the print page. So once you send the file over, it will mirror the screen that's on the palette. Okay, then you need the printer profile ID. This for the palette 2 is a 16-digit number, well, character. Palette 3 is a 32. Um, you can end up making your own with the link here if you like. This just makes a random one. It would just generate. You get different numbers that you can use as a profile ID, or you can use one of the ones that are posted down here. All this does is on the palette, you have different profiles for different slicers. If you use Canvas, you'd have a different number. If you're using this, it'd be a different number. So all the files will stay together basically. And just copy, paste the ID there. And this is for your ping. This is, it talks about it here. The default way is you get a ping every 350 millimeters into the print. And as it gets longer, the spacing between the pings get longer and longer. This right here corrects that and makes it so that you get a ping every 350 millimeters. So we'll go ahead and enter, paste this here, enter again. Then your splice offset. If your offset is too small, it won't make the splice. The palette 2 has a smaller area than the palette 3. Yeah, the palette 2 is 100 millimeters. So your splice has to be longer than that. So that's why we have the minimum start splice of 130. So if your splice is smaller than that, it'll give you an error. Then the minimum splice itself of 90 for the palette 3. So this says that if a splice is smaller than that, it gives you an error message letting you know to correct it. The splice offset is how far into the splice the second color is coming in. Generally, you want it to be 30 to 40. We'll go ahead and copy, paste that here, enter. Then this right here just puts the printer in absolute extruder mode. It helps calculate the correct amount for the filament. Copy, paste that there. Then we have the splice tuning information. The way this is set up is it's going to be the from material to the to, and then it has your heat, compression, cooling. So the default material would be anything that's not coded. It's just going to use these settings right here, 000. If you have a PLA to a PLA, it'll use these settings here, ABS to ABS, and so on. This right here is PLA1 to PLA2, then PLA2 to PLA1. That's if you have special filaments, something like a glitter, a shiny, a silk, anything like that, that uses a different number than what's here. You'd have to do your own splice tuning, find your numbers, and put them in there. But we can just go ahead and copy this for now. And go back to it. End filament. This is at the end of the print, and when it cuts the last splice, this is how much extra filament the palette should make so that that last splice makes it to the hot end. Generally, for a direct drive, I use about 120. For a Bowden setup, I end up using whatever the length is from the extruder gear all the way to the nozzle, plus about 50 millimeters. But go ahead, copy, paste that there. And check version. This is if you want it to connect to the internet and check the version just to let you know if there's a new update for the P2pp. We'll add that in there. Okay, now these go before the layer change G code. This is just basically how the palette is knowing the layer number. So we'll go here, that's the NG code right here before layer change. We'll go ahead, paste that in there. As you can see, it didn't change because generally the before layer change code is the same. And I think that's where a lot of people get the layer change, the layer not set up, because the after layer change code is different. As you can see, this is what it is. We'll go ahead and paste that in there. As you can see, these are different. It changes just ever so slightly. So make sure you copy, paste that one in there, or you're going to get an issue. Okay, printer settings, general, firmware. This is for the thumbnail that appears on the palette 3 screen. If you have a palette 2, you do not need to do this. And it's just be right here, firmware, G-code, thumbnail. Paste that in there. Okay, print settings tab, output options, print setting, output options. By default, it just outputs as a .g code, but we're using it with the palette, so it's going to be a little bit different. If you have a palette 2, you'll use this one, which is going to be, it stands for mosaic connected file. If you have a palette 2, that's what you're using. If you have a palette 3, it's mosaic connected file X. I guess, I don't know. We'll copy that, paste it there. And then the post-processing script should be in the C drive. This should be the location. If yours is put somewhere different, then you simply have to do what we did earlier, run the P2P application, and then simply copy whatever's here. It's best to put it in the area without spaces. When you put it in the area with spaces, a lot of times it causes issues. And paste that right there. Okay, so that's pretty much everything's done. You want to name your profile so that you don't get confused with your other profiles, so we'll go ahead and do that now. This is the print settings, so we'll just save, just do, just do crap, P3. Then on the filament settings, you can come to the advanced. This is where you can change your filament types. If you have a filament that is different, like let's say you want your filament 1, you can put 1 in there, and then you can save it. Hold on. And that's safe. This one here is going to correspond to the one there. So, so you can go here, you can make your filament 2, save, there. So you'd have it set like that. I did not save one for just the regular PLA. Okay, so we have all that done. These will be all your filament settings. You can change all those to what you need to, the cooling, anything else that needs to be changed for the filament itself. Then we got back here, all that's good. And we can go back to the plate. And now you have everything set up here. What you can do is click these. This is what changes your color to whatever color, excuse me, whatever color is going to be in your model. But what you can do is go to the print settings, the extruder, and right here, if you change the color here, let's see, you can change it here. We also need to save this. Then when you go back here, they're automatically set. And that's just an easier way of doing, well, that's a way of doing it, just so every time you load it, it would be those exact colors. So now we'll go ahead and load a model. Okay, so I just loaded the cow dragon. As you can see, it's different bodies. Take them all, drag them in together. It's going to ask you the multi-material item. Yes. And as you can see, it automatically colored it. The first STL that pops up here goes to drive 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. You can double click, change it to whatever color you need it to. If you find out this is 1, you want this to be a different color. There you go. 2, and so on. That's something. Okay, pause real quick. This says Future Me. This is showing you where to find those user profiles that you set up for the PLA1, PLA2. Okay, and then you want to set up the purge links for all the colors. Now, the purge link should be right here, but it's not. Come up to print settings, multiple extruders, turn on the prime tower. No clue why it was off by default. It could be because it's not an actual Prusa profile. Go to platter. Now, here's your purge block. Generally put mine towards the back. Face my model facing outward. Okay. Then you want to go to the purge volumes. This, to me, this is kind of confusing. I don't work with this part here. Go to the advanced settings. This here makes much more sense. You want from color 1 to color 2. This is how much filament is going to purge based off of your splice settings. So if you have a 30 for your splice settings, the color 1 will be 30% of this number. The color 2 will be 70% of this number that will purge. By default, if you leave it like this, it's going to error out because it's not long enough. May not error there. Once you go to export the code, and it comes up short splice, short splice, short splice. Complete with warnings. This won't print. This will basically just jam the machine. It's telling you right there that all your purge settings are set to 7070 or 140. So exit, purge volume, show advanced. I generally do 280. That's just a good number. You can copy, Control C, paste, and then tab. So tab, paste, and for the most part, you can just fill it in pretty fast. You only need to go up to the colors that you need that you're using, which here we're using 6, so drive 6. Go through and fix any ones that were doubled or any ones that did not take, like this one. Now, if I was going to do a black to white, which would be this 5 here to this one here, I would normally put in a 300. Then if you're doing the white to like a black color, you can go down to like 220. But okay, slice. See the tower got a little bigger. This line that's hovering, don't know what it is. Just know that it does not print. Save it again. It's gonna export and complete. Everything shows as okay. So everything will be good there. Well, thank you for watching the video. I hope that it helped you guys out. Hope the audio wasn't too bad. I'm just not set up for audio. Thank you.